Today is Tuesday, July 29th, and this is another update on my progress of beating the S&P 500 along with Bill Ackman's Pershing Square holdings. I do make these videos every Tuesday and Sunday, so if you want to follow along, hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. Since my last update, my portfolio had a gain of 0.29%, Pershing Square had a loss of 5.33, and the S&P 500 had a gain of 0.97, which brings us year to date. My portfolio has a gain of 23.06, Pershing Square is at a gain of 11.67, and the S&P 500 is at a gain of 8.56. So we'll go ahead and take a look at PayPal, which they did report earnings this morning. That blue arrow is going to represent where I increased my position by 15% last Tuesday. I was able to see some gains before they reported their earnings, but unfortunately the stock did fall over 8% today. I thought that they had pretty good earnings. Their EPS went up along with their revenue year over year, and then Venmo also saw a 20% increase, and on top of that they also raised their guidance for the rest of the year. One of the things that people are concerned about is that their payment transactions went down 5%, but if you exclude the payment service providers such as Shopify, their payment transactions actually went up 6%. So definitely a lot of good stuff, but one of the sticking points is that payment transactions, which comes from their service providers, going down. The share price isn't quite at this support level yet, and it would be roughly another 4.2% drop to reach that. Even though they did post fairly good earnings, the share price, like I said earlier, did fall over 8%, and it is now below this trend line. I would feel better about it and possibly ready to buy some more if it didn't actually cross below that level, but because it did, I do think that there's a good possibility that it eventually reaches this support level. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on it, and if it does end up reaching this support level, I'm definitely going to look into buying some more. And if we take a look at the SPY chart, you'll see that we're not quite at all-time highs, but we're just a notch below it, and we've also been able to stay above this support level, which is definitely encouraging for the upward trend to continue. And then if we add in the 5 and the 15-day moving average, you'll see that the SPY price closed right at the 5-day today, and both of those are still pretty well above the 15. I do still have close to 30% of my portfolio sitting in cash, so what I'm really waiting for is the SPY price to come down to that support level, and that would represent a 1.49% loss from where we're trading at right now. At that point, I would like to see my cash go down from 30% down to about 20%, and then if for some reason the SPY price drops below the support level and goes all the way down to the second support level, that would represent a 4.18% loss from where we're currently trading. So if it does reach the secondary support level, I would like to get my cash position to what would be 20% all the way down to 10%, which I think would be a great position to be in if we do reach that level and ultimately bounce off of it. These are going to be all 14 of my current positions. Right now, Nvidia, Microsoft, Meta, Palantir, and Welltower make up my top 5, and those make up 33.72% of my portfolio. So with the decline of PayPal's share price after they reported their earnings today, that now puts me at a loss of 12.51%. And like I said earlier, I am going to hold off on adding any more to PayPal, even though I think they reported pretty good earnings, until it reaches that support level. Having 14 open positions is pretty much the max that I like to have in my portfolio. If I find 1 or 2 positions that I want to add to my portfolio, I do think that Walmart and Costco would be the ones that I swap them out for. I don't necessarily have any intentions of doing that, but if I were to find those 2 positions, that is how I would do it. And right now, I do have 70.52% of my portfolio invested, which leaves me with 29.48 sitting in cash. And like I mentioned earlier, if the SPY price does reach that first support level, that cash is going to go from 29.48 down to about 20. And then if for some reason it reaches the second support level, I would drop that all the way down to 10%. That's going to do it for today. I do make these videos every Tuesday and Sunday, so if you want to follow along, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on Sunday.